afternoon, CMS families. Thank you for joining today's Family Academy Lunch and Learn Parents and MTSS, understanding my role within the framework. We are excited to be joined today by Ms. Chantilia Guy, Director of MTSS, to support our learning and understanding. Please take a moment to sign in to today's session using the bit.ly/Family Academy sign in. This has been added to the Q&A along with today's slide deck and today's FAQ document. If you are in need of translation supports on today's call, please select the Captions button in the top right-hand corner of your screen. From there, please select Show Live Captions from the drop-down and then select the language of your choosing. Once again, please select Captions in the top right-hand corner of your screen, followed by Show Live Captions, and then select the language of your choosing from the drop-down. And we are excited to engage with you today. On today's call, if you have any questions or wonderings, please feel free to add them to the Q&A. The Q&A is located in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And once you click on the Q&A button, a text box will appear. We will be monitoring the Q&A and have an opportunity to answer questions at the end of today's call. Additionally, we do have an FAQ document that has been added to the slide deck that you can always return to review any questions and answers that might have occurred. And we also want to engage with you. If you have a reaction on today's call, a wow, an aha moment, please feel free to share a thumbs up or a heart emoji. We love to engage with our families and make sure that the content we are sharing is meeting your needs. And at this time, I am excited to turn it over to Ms. Chantilia Guy to share about parents in MTSS.
All right, so thank you, Molly. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn session for parents in MTSS, understanding my role within the framework. Again, I am Chantilia Guy, Director of MTSS, and I'm excited to spend a little time with you just to talk about what MTSS is and how you can support your child at home as well as at school. All right, before we begin, I want to share with you our CMS placemat. This highlights our district's vision, mission, goals, and guardrails, as well as our targets. So definitely understand that MTSS aligns with all of our goals as we support ensuring the success of the whole child. So again, we're looking at it from academics, attendance, behavior, social emotional wellness, and also just everything. So we want to ensure the success of our child as we're looking at this placemat. Pictured here, you will see our small but mighty MTSS team for the district. We support schools and district staff with MTSS implementation. So again, very small, but we get things done, always constantly getting the calls around support for making sure that we're doing what is best in our schools and setting up those systems to support all of our children with MTSS interventions, core expectations, and also just implementation, ensuring that they are able to get what they need. All right, so now what I always like to do is just open us up with a little wellness moment and engagement. So in our little Q&A, or either with one of your reactions, I'm going to call out one of our seasons. If you want to drop your number of your favorite season in the Q&A, you're welcome to do so. But if winter is your favorite season, give me a reaction or drop the number 1 in the Q&A. So I will say winter is one of my favorite seasons because I was born in December. And so I do like winter, but I don't like quite all the cold. If spring is your favorite season, drop your number or give a reaction for spring or number 2. What about summer? Now I like summer because I like to be outside. I like to do all the things. I'm not an inside type of person, so I love it. I just don't like it when it's hot. And then about number 4, if fall is your favorite season. I know we are in the midst of fall right now. So if fall is your favorite season, let's see what we've got there. All right. So I always like to do a little opening just to engage everyone with all of our different, just a check-in. It's one of those check-ins just to get you excited about something different other than the heavy content that you might receive. So that is some of the things that we do in some of our professional developments as well, what we do with staff. So just wanted to give you a little taste of that. Okay, so now let's take a look at our session outcomes. So today we want our participants to be able to understand what MTSS is, how does MTSS support my child, and understand your role as a parent within the MTSS framework. So we're going to take these 3 key points and talk to them through them a little bit in detail. All right. So first things first is, what is MTSS? Some of us may have heard it, some of us may not. So if we look at it, MTSS stands for multi-tiered systems of support. Okay, multi-tiered systems of support. So North Carolina MTSS is a school improvement framework that encompasses academic, behavioral, social, and emotional instruction and support. It employs a systems approach using data-driven problem solving to maximize growth for all. And I want to highlight that word all. That means all of our students are supported within the MTSS framework. It's just not for a small group, it's for all. And we use our data to problem solve what is needed for students. And so we'll talk a little bit more in detail about when we say what is needed. Okay. Here is what we call our MTSS umbrella. At the very top of our umbrella, you will see what's called our critical components of MTSS, which consist of building capacity and infrastructure, leadership, communication and collaboration, data and evaluation, the problem-solving process, and multiple tiers of instruction and intervention. I know a lot of times when you may hear about MTSS at a school, you hear about it through intervention. But I want for everyone to understand that it is more than just the intervention piece. It is really how we do school. When you look at all the different things that you see happening under the umbrella, you have to have professional development for our staff. We're making sure that we're teaching the curriculum that supports your students through behavior, attendance, social emotional, along with behavior. But we're also problem solving with that as well. So we use a lot of data to make sure that we're providing the best support for our children. And mostly important, it's about all students. So I like to repeat that. It's about all students. And you see that listed there as well. So remember, it's more than just interventions. That's why we call it a framework instead of a process. So let's look at, how does MTSS support my child? So here you see layers of continuous support. MTSS aims to ensure that all of our students get the right instruction and educational experience by leveraging collective knowledge and expertise to help our teachers understand their learners' needs and also to make informed strategic decisions that best support them. It begins with the teachers assessing the skills of everyone in the class to proactively identify who may need additional support in an area, whether it's reading, math, behavior, attendance, you name it. Students receive that support, and we also make sure it's research-based and targeted instruction or intervention that's matched to both their skill and their level of need. The students' progress is monitored closely to ensure that the additional support is helping. If the skill gap has been resolved, then additional support in that area may not no longer need to be required. But if it hasn't improved, then the level of personalized instruction or support increases, further problem solving to understand why each student struggles, and then we design a customized path to support their needs in a defined and systematic way. So as you can see on the screen, we have the 3 tiers of instruction. Core, which is tier 1, supplemental, which is tier 2, and intensive, which is tier 3. Every single student receives core instruction. That's core instructions in academics. That's also core instruction around behavior and social emotional. Schools also have a tiered attendance plan in which they also tier the way in which they support students in making sure they're coming to school. So we've taken a tiered approach to that. But over to the right, you see the circle around our problem solving, where we define what the problem is, we analyze, we implement, and we evaluate. And that's looking at all of those areas of social emotional, academics, behavior, and attendance together. Keep in mind when we're thinking about that, we want to look at the whole child because one thing can impact the other. For example, if our students are not coming to school as it relates to attendance, it's very hard for us to address the academics or behavior concerns that may come about. So one of the things that we start with first is ensuring that we have a strong attendance plan of support in place for that student, and then we can address those academic concerns. So what is my role as a parent within the MTSS framework? So you play a critical role in supporting what your children are learning in school. Research shows that the more parents are involved in student learning, the higher the student achievement. So make reading an everyday habit at home with your child's teacher regularly. So let's say, for example, we have reading logs, things of that nature. Even if there isn't a reading log, have your students reading on a daily basis. If you don't know, reading is a part of every single subject because you're still having to read math problems. You're still having to read the formulas that are in science. So you're always constantly reading. So making reading a habit every day. Monitor and assist with homework assignments, making sure that our students are completing their homework so that we can see whether or not there are gaps in what they're understanding and learning in school, because that also allows for you to be like, I need to reach out to the teacher because I'm not quite sure if you're really getting this, and I want to make sure I'm able to help you effectively at home. Ask for regular monitoring reports. That means reach out to your child's teacher and check in. I know we do quarterly report cards, or we do have those first quarter conferences with parents, but you also want to make sure that you're checking in regularly too to see what's happening with your students and their learning. Share your child's successes. When your child is making progress on different things that are happening in the classroom and academically, or even with behavior, praise that. Share that with them and say, I'm excited. I heard about this, that you were doing so well, and I just want to praise you on that, because that goes a long way with ensuring that students really feel that they're being supported, and then they want to achieve more at that level as well. Learn more about the curricular and interventions that are being used in your child's school. I know our schools have curriculum nights, parent nights. Make sure that you're attending those, because this gives you an idea of what is being taught um, in your child's classroom. And then also, it also helps you to learn too, well, what is it that you're going to do if my child needs more support? So this gives you that chance to answer that question. We have what's called a standard treatment protocol, which is our resource guide that provides our teachers with additional resources to support them if our students are not adequately being supported or needing more support when it comes to the core curriculum that our teachers are delivering to the students every single day. So we may say they may need a little bit more extra, and here's another layer of support based off those tiers that I talked about before, in which we will provide to make sure that they continue to close that gap in their learning. Then attend parent-teacher conferences and other school meetings about your child. So it's very important that if a meeting or a conference is being held, that you're a part of that meeting. Within the MTSS framework, one of the things that we do not do when it comes to interventions is we just do something and not inform you. It's important that you're aware of whatever the gaps are and how we're planning to help support that. So when you hear about, hey, there's a meeting about providing some additional layers of support for your child, make every attempt to be looped into those conversations, attend those meetings so that you can hear what's the progress, because we want your feedback and your input as well, especially when we get to the tier 3 or intensive level. We loop parents in and have their say as far as letting us know what are some things that you have observed so that we can take that into account of other things and supports we need to put in place to increase the learning that's needed. Here we have some resources that are going to be very helpful for you. So NCDBI has a link for families. Let's hope it opens up like it needs to. So all of our engagement comes through North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. So this is nothing coming out of the air or anything like that. This is part of our state's implementation on how we support families. So you will be able to see information here about, again, some of the things that I talked about with MTSS and what it means. How important family engagement is when it comes to implementation support and being a part of your child's success and educational progress, and then what things that we do as it relates to that support. I also linked to the videos that you saw on this tab here. So I'll let you guys take a moment on your own since you have the bit.ly to review these slides. You'll be able to go and listen to those videos at your leisure. The next thing I wanted to share with you is parent brochures. Everyone should be able to have access. What we have done is created our MTSS brochure, and I'm going to open up the English one just to begin. But you saw we have 12 languages created for this brochure. So where can I find information about MTSS, your guide to understanding MTSS, what it really means when we're talking about MTSS and supporting our students, and then of course, some of those things that we talked about. One of the things I want to highlight on here, which I think is very important, is questions as a parent that you can also ask. How are you supporting my child? You can now ask these questions when you go and meet with your child's teacher. I know it's end of quarter, parent-teacher conferences are coming up, so have those conversations. What are targeted interventions that my child's school is using if they're struggling in the classroom? Learn about what those interventions are, because that'll be helpful for you. And especially if they're struggling in other areas such as behavior, attendance, and SEL. The most important thing to understand is we intervene in all areas, not just academics. So we want to make sure that we are ensuring the best success for our child in all areas. Okay, so again, these are some questions that you can take when you go to your conferences and ask your teacher about when it comes to your child. Again, we have multiple languages. You have access to review those. So whichever fits for your learning and understanding, please make sure to take advantage of that. Some of our schools do print out this information so that they can share those with parents at different meetings. But now you have it at your fingertips to help support you on your own. So now you're going to be well equipped. And then lastly, DPI has also made sure that there is a little bit of a fact sheet for you guys as it relates to understanding what does it mean by MTSS. And the one word that I continue to say is all. And they emphasize that as well. MTSS is for all of our students. It's not just for a subgroup of students, but the support of all students in all areas. So you heard me mention attendance, you heard me mention behavior, social emotional, and again, academics. So it's all means all in all areas, because we want to ensure we have a well-rounded student, not just a one-sided student. So again, this is here for you. And this will help you as well to ensure that you are equipped to be able to ask the questions that you need and also get the support that you need in your child's building. All right, so If there are wonderings or questions, you can, we have some time, definitely drop those in our Q&A, and I will be happy to respond as best as possible. If you need some time to think about some of the things that have been shared and say, well, let me process it a little bit, I have linked here a document that's our frequently asked questions. And then you would share your information here and we will respond. And then those responses are open so that everyone can see the questions at your leisure. And just in case it may be something that you didn't think to ask at the time, but you'll have an answer for it as needed. So I'll turn it over to Molly.
Thank you, Ms. Guy, for such a comprehensive overview of MTSS. Not only are we aware of the process and how we intervene on the whole child, but I know as a mother, I am more prepared to walk in and ask any questions with my child's teacher, having those handy questions at my fingertips. Families, right now we do not have any questions in the Q&A. We're happy to hang on for about, oop, and I said it just in time. The links, families, I'm going to go ahead and paste them. They are pinned to the top. I have added them in. It will be bit.ly CMSFA 1023-1023 for the slide deck and the FAQ at the end if you would like to access the FAQ, which is also linked in the slide deck. We've had a second question come in of what kind of support is available for an AIG middle school student?
Yes. So one of the things for our students that are AIG, what we like to do is the classroom teacher would actually look and see within that plan where they are AIG, because if it's for reading and or math, one of the examples we always say is you might be stronger in one subject than the other. And so that means that there's intervention supports that could be provided for you in the area in which you may not be already identified. What we also do have there too for our students that are AIG, so our teachers also differentiate that core for them to ensure that they're receiving that extra layer for enrichment for them. So that's another way in which we support students that are AIG.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Families at this time. Oh, our next question. I have a question about the timing of interventions. For example, if my child was receiving Tier 3 services at the end of second grade, why do we have to wait till the beginning of third grade year's test results before more interventions can begin if needed? I feel like we miss an intervention opportunity within the first quarter.
Good question. So one of the things that we also like to do, if you noticed at the beginning, we say it's a problem solving, using our data to problem solve. So sometimes we know, yes, there could be that summer slide, but sometimes with where our students ended may not always be where they will begin. So we like to use that new data set to help us to determine where exactly our students' needs are, because where they were at the end may not always be where they are at the very beginning. So we like to use multiple data points to help us in determining new areas of needs for support so that we can make sure that we're giving our students exactly what they need, what they need. Sometimes for our intensive students, they are already put on the list of, as we say, we'll call it a watch list, but that means we already know that they were receiving those interventions at the end of the year. And so we already make the appropriate concessions with them in their core instruction to make sure they're getting a little bit of extra layer of support within core to begin until we get our new data set back so that we can determine where we need to begin with that additional support.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So they, at the beginning of the year, if they're on their watch list, their classroom teacher is already adding in a layer in their standard classroom instruction. Am I understanding that correct?
That is correct.
Wonderful. Thank you. Families, if you have any remaining questions today, and another one comes in, I love the engagement, guys. The follow-up to our AIG question, what kind of differentiated core for AIG? What is the proper way to follow up
Yeah.
about differentiated core.
Range quarter, yes. So one thing you would want to do is actually get with the AIG teacher that's assigned to the school, because they actually do have a curriculum that they use to support them with differentiated core. So they have targeted instructional supports there. So get with your teacher that supports them with that curriculum, and she'll be able to assist you with that.
Wonderful. Thank you. A follow-up question is, having an intervention may include teachers as tutors within the school. If you could maybe overview that process of what an intervention looks like.
Yeah. So interventions are basically skills. So we're looking at what skills are students having a gap within, so that we're able to support closing the gap and building those foundational skills for students. So for example, and I know we assess our students right now, we're talking about K-8, we use iReady as our universal screener assessment. Once our students finish taking their test, there is a My Path that is created, or personalized instructional My Path created for them based off any skills gaps that they may have. And so with that, intervention would be set aside outside of core instruction, because one of the things we do not do is we do not intervene during core, because everyone is required to have core instruction, and that is the curriculum that our teachers are teaching daily. So outside of that, additional time is set aside for our students to engage in intervention. And so we're intervening in the area that is the most deficit, so that we're able to help close that, so that they're also able to access the core instruction around that part a little more. An intervention can range from 15 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes. It depends on the intervention that is being provided, and it also depends on the time. So you may have 3 days, you may have 4 to 5. It just depends on if it's a tier 2 supplemental or a tier 3 intensive. For some of our behaviors, I will say, sometimes a behavior intervention is a check-in, check-out. A check-in, check-out would only take about 5 minutes, and that's because we're setting up the goals for the students. We're reviewing the goals, and then we're assessing with the student by checking in with them on how well they're doing with meeting those goals. And so they're set up with a check-in or check-out coordinator as it relates to that. It could be the child's teacher, it could be another adult in the building. It just depends, but that is checking in with them to see, are they meeting the identified goals that have been set? And then if not, what are things we can do to make those changes? So that could be maybe 5 minutes. So it just depends on the type of intervention that's being provided for the student, and the amount of time that it is set based off research.
Thank you for that thorough overview of the intervention process. I'm nervous to say, families, if you have any remaining questions, we hope that you are able to add them into our Q&A. You guys have been so engaging this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time and voice as we make sure that you are aware of the MTSS process. As shared, if there's any remaining questions, please add them into the Q&A, the FAQ document that's linked within the slide deck and added into our Q&A section. We hope that everyone has a wonderful Thursday, and we hope that you join us for our next Lunch and Learn. Have a great day.